Hello everyone, my name is Lee Fuge and I'm here today with Music Radar, and in this lesson we're going to be checking out 5 things that all guitar players can learn from Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page. Down below in the description of this video you will find a link to an article that accompanies this video which contains a little bit more written information about all the things we talk about in this lesson, as well as all the tab files you need to learn all of the examples and play along with them yourself. It's very hard to imagine a list of the greatest guitar players of all time without mentioning Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page. He has inspired countless guitar players over the decades with his technique, his style, his tone, and even his recording techniques. Led Zeppelin basically helped pioneer rock music as we know it today from all the things they did on those early records. So in this video, we're going to be dissecting 5 habits that you can take away and add a little bit of that Jimmy Page magic to your own guitar playing. The first thing we're going to do is start with his use of overbending notes. So I'm going to show you a lick that features an overbent note. This is the lick we're going to play and then we'll break it down. This is a really short lick, but it's a very effective technique that Page uses quite a lot through Led Zeppelin's career. This particular version of the lick I'm playing is in the key of E minor, but you can transpose this to any key. All the licks I do in this video are all in the same key. Now what we're basically doing here is a really simple lick that just plays around on the B and G strings of the guitar. We're starting out by playing the 12th fret and then the 15th fret of the B string. Then we're playing that 15th fret again, but bending it. Now, usually we would try and target our bend 2 frets higher than where we're starting. This is known as a full tone bend. But what we're doing in this case to really capture that Jimmy Page overbent style is we're actually targeting a note 3 frets higher. So we're bending from this note here, which is the 15th fret of the B string, and we're targeting the 18th fret. So it's a bigger bend than before. So when you're doing the bend, make sure you've got all your fingers supporting that string to help balance the tension. And then we're bringing that down like so. You can, if you want, target a note even further. When doing overbends, Page was not too consistent with aiming for specific notes. It was more to get a specific sound. So you could do a 3 fret bend or a 4 fret bend. It's the same idea, you're just pushing the string that little bit further. Now you will need to work up the strength on that. So when you're first doing this, start slow with that bend, gradually push it up and then work on pushing it that little bit further. Once we've brought that bend back down, we're then playing the 12 on the B string once more, the 14 on the G, and then 15 pull off 12 on the B. So hear that lick slowly. And then once more at full speed. The second thing we're going to look at is Page's use of triplets and pull-offs at the same time. This is a really cool cross-string lick. Now I'm going to show you this in one form, but you can adapt this by moving it around to different pentatonic shapes and different points on the fretboard. This is the lick we're going to be using. Now the great thing we're learning in this riff is you actually only need to learn one 3-note pattern. Once you can do that 3-note pattern, you're then just repeating it. So we're doing triplets here, which is 3 notes on every beat. 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a, 4 and a. The notes we're using are on the E and B strings. So we're playing the 15th fret on the high E and doing a pull off to the 12th fret. And then we're playing the 12th fret on the B string. Those are the 3 notes for our triplet, 1 and a. Picking wise, you can copy the way Page would do this by starting with an up pick on the pull off and then a down pick on the B string. Or you can do your own variation on this as long as that rhythm is consistent. So what we're doing is we're playing that high E string, doing that pull off, going for that 12th fret on the B. What can help here is to bar across the E and B strings with the index finger. And you're just keeping that triplet rhythm going consistently. In the variation of the lick I played that triplet pattern 6 times. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 to make up the first bar, 1, 2 in the second bar, and then on the third beat in the second bar, I did a string bend on the 15th fret of the high E up to the pitch of the 17. And apply plenty of aggressive vibrato to that, just like Page would do. This is a really cool lick to throw into guitar solos when you want a burst of speed, but without flying all around the fretboard. You can do this in different pentatonic shapes and in different places around the neck. Here's this lick slowly. And then once again at full speed. The third thing that we're going to talk about is Page's use of repeated phrasing. Now, one thing you'll see a lot in all of the big Led Zeppelin guitar solos is lick ideas and lick patterns that he's just sitting in one spot with and repeating for a number of beats or a number of bars. This is a really effective way to fill space inside of a guitar solo, especially if you're improvising and maybe you don't quite have the next lick in mind yet of where you want to go. If you've got a solid lick that you're quite happy with, repeat it over and over again and let that kind of guide you on the next stage of your guitar solo. This is a really cool Page style technique to put into your playing. This is the lick we're going to be using for this example. So much like the triplet pull-off lick that we just learned, this is actually quite a simple lick. It's only 4 notes long, but what we're doing is we're repeating that pattern. So the lick we're playing is a bend on the 14th fret of the G, and then we're picking the 12th fret on the B. Then we're doing a pull-off from the 15 back to the 12, also on the B. And that's our 4-note pattern. Now, the other thing Page would do with a lick like this is he wouldn't necessarily play it straight, because if we played this straight, as a 4-note grouping, the logical thing to do would be to put it as 16th notes, which would give us 4 notes on every beat. And that would actually sound like this. But that's not how the Jimmy Page way would actually sound or feel. Page would actually play it with a slight swagger to it, so we're actually emphasizing certain notes more than others, and that would sound a bit more like this. So you'll notice the emphasis is actually on the front half of the lick with the string bend. We're actually playing those first 2 notes slightly longer than the second 2 notes. So we're actually going into the bend and the second pick note much slower than we are the pull-off. That creates a bit of a groove or a swagger to the lick. This is very important when you're emulating or putting some Jimmy Page style ideas into your playing, because he very rarely played things right up the middle as straight as we'd normally expect them to be played. So this lick does need a little bit of that movement. Once you're done with the repeating idea, you can then end the lick however you want. In the case of this, I actually ended it with a slide from the 15 to the 17. You can end that with a string bend, or you can use that as a bridging phrase to another lick. So here's how this lick sounds slowly. And then once more at full speed. The fourth Jimmy Page style habit we're going to be learning is his use of descending 16th notes stacked into 6-note groupings. Here's the lick we're going to learn. So one thing Jimmy Page was really great at was taking what should be a straight grouping of notes and actually shifting where the emphasis of those notes actually lie within the bar. He did that a lot with riffs where he would kind of turn the groove upside down and move the emphasis point, and he also did it with guitar solos. Now, when we think of 16th notes, we think of 4 to the beat. And also when we think of grouping notes and sixes, we think of triplets or kind of double time triplets. But in this case, Jimmy Page is actually doing something completely different. He's still playing straight 16th notes, but grouping the notes in sixes so that where our brain hears the start point of each group is at a different point in the bar. Now, this is just a descending E minor pentatonic lick. So the lick itself is quite straightforward. We're going to be starting on the 12th fret of the high E, and we're working backwards by 6 notes. That lands us on the 14th fret of the D string. Then we're coming to the 14th fret of the G, and working down 6 notes from there, which lands us on the 12th fret of the A. Then we're going to the 14th fret of the D, and we're going 6 notes back from that, but we are shifting into the 5th minor pentatonic shape, which lands us back at the root. And then I ended the lick by playing the D note, which is the 10th of the low E, and just sliding it back to that root. So that lick itself is actually quite simple. It's just 3 6-note groupings. Grouping 1, grouping 2, and grouping 3. And then just that final slide to end. Now, what's really interesting about this is how that lines up rhythmically. Because he's stacking those 16th notes in groups of 6, every time we start a new group of 6, we're actually not on the beat. We're in a different place in the bar, and that's where it gets really interesting. So if we break this down rhythmically, our first grouping is going to be 1 E and a 2 E. So that's the end of our first group. But because we've ended on the E of 2 at that point, the next rhythmic marker is the and of 2. So we're actually starting the next grouping of 6 halfway through the second beat. And a 3 E and a. Which means we're starting the third grouping on the 4th beat. 4 E and a 1 E. And then on the and of 1, we're sliding back to that root note. So we're actually hitting the first beat, the and of 2, the 4, and then the and of the following 1. So there's some weird rhythmic shifts going on there as we move through that 6-note pattern. So when you're working on this, slow that right down and just spend your time counting each rhythmic beat as you go along. So I would recommend going 1 E and a 2 E. Then, on that second grouping, and a 3 E and a. And then the final grouping, 4 E and a 1 E. And. So spend time familiarizing yourself with the rhythmic counting of that one, go slow, and then build the speed up. Here's that one played slowly. And then once more at full speed. And the fifth and final Jimmy Page style habit we're going to be learning is his use of rapid fire legato bursts inside of a rock lick. You can actually pair this idea with the overbending we learned at the start of this lesson to form a really cool Page style lick. So the lick we're going to be learning is this one. So this has elements of the repeated licks, this has elements of triplets, this has elements of overbending. It's kind of a combination of all the different Page habits we've learned in one lesson. And this really sums up a lot of his playing style. So what we're doing here once again is a repeated lick idea. We're doing a hammer on from the 12 to the 15 on the B string with a pull off. And this is going to be a triplet, but it's going to be an 8th note triplet. So this is only going to take us from the beat to the end of the beat. And then on the end of the beat, we're playing the 14th fret of the G. So it's triplet and, triplet and. So our picking hand is just picking 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It's actually picking on the beat and on the end. But then the legato is giving us the triplet in between. Once you've got that rhythm on your fingers, you can then assemble the lick. So starting off with 3 repeats of that pattern. Then we're playing the 12 on the B string, and then we're doing an overbend on the 15 of the B. So you can target the 18th fret for that. Instead of releasing the bend slowly, like you did earlier, we're going up for that overbend and then just picking the starting point again. Then doing that pattern once more. And end on that 12 of the B string. So it's a really cool lick that combines a bunch of different page habits into one place. So I'm going to play that slowly now. And then once more at full speed. So there you go, there are 5 Jimmy Page style habits that you can take away and put into your own playing right now. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of these licks and how you're using them. And let us know as well what your favorite Jimmy Page technique or moment is as well. We'd love to hear what Jimmy Page things you guys have taken away and put into your own playing. Don't forget to check out that link in the description that takes you over to the linked article for this. It's got all the tabs you need in there, as well as some extra information about everything going on in those licks. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for the Music Radar channel for more free lesson videos just like this. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you guys very, very soon.